Okay, now you can hear me, right? Oh, I can't believe it. I spent so much time talking, and you guys couldn't hear me. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Welcome everyone to the live stream. Okay, it's our community live stream, and we're not calling it weekly anymore because it's gonna happen every 2 weeks, at least for a while. Okay, and as I was talking, but nobody could hear me. Um, the reason why we're moving this to happen every 2 weeks is because we are currently in a pre-production phase of our next unannounced project at Behold, and during that phase, for reasons that will become clear along the live stream, we do not have we do not plan on having many significant changes in the game or the demo that we're working on, um, and we don't have much to really show you, not in a way that's going to be like compelling for consecutive weeks of lives. So we're making it happen every 2 weeks so we can like really focus on that live stream and show you something interesting, at least with that frequency. Okay, so well, yeah, thanks for staying here even though you weren't listening to me. So welcome Saulo to the chat. Glad to see you here. Master Project, good to see you again. Samanozu. Okay, I don't recall your nickname from past live streams, so welcome to our live stream. I hope you enjoy it. Cresword and Adriano Bruning. Okay, so yeah, welcome everyone. Arceus too. Thanks for joining me. All right, so here's the thing. Our plan is to talk a little bit about pre-production, and it's not gonna be like a lesson or a talk or anything like that. Okay, I'm not here to teach you anything, as if I'm like the holder of the truth or anything like that. I didn't exactly plan structure in a way that would fit in a talk or something like that. Okay, that's not the idea. The idea is that we can chat about pre-production. I'm gonna obviously introduce it, so we are all kind of in the same page. And if you don't know anything about like game phases, production phases, and stuff like that, you're gonna be still able to follow the live stream and understand what I'm talking about. But it's not gonna be structured as a lesson, right? No, or a talk. It's just a chat. If you have any questions about what I'm saying, if you didn't understand something, you can ask, as always. And yeah, let's have this conversation. So I'm getting some pop-ups here. Let me just close them because they distract me and they cover the chat. All right. So production phases. Let's just go through this very basic concept. When you're developing a game, you kind of have you kind of go through phases of development. Pretty much like every project that's long enough, that lasts long enough, you gotta like divide it in phases, and the way you work on the project it changes through time. Um, you have the widely known production phase, which is definitely the longest one. It is what we were doing at Outer Space, for example. So if you've been watching our live streams, you've followed a lot of what we do during production phase. Like even though the last project, like Outer Space, was released in early access, so the line between production and post-production is a little bit blurry there, because we were releasing things directly to the community and then getting feedbacks and working on that. It's kind of a simultaneous process. But anyway, you get the feel of what it is like making the game, like the state of actually making, implementing, and eventually releasing the game. And pre-production is pretty much what comes before that. So let's say you start, I don't know, you gather up your team, and you say, oh, okay, I gotta, guys, we gotta start a new project. Okay, let's see what we're gonna do. And you're gonna like talk a lot, and maybe that's part of your pre-production ritual. You know, to like include multiple methodologies in the process of like choosing the game itself you're gonna do. At Behold, we do it pretty fluidly. Like it's pretty much where every time we're like getting at least close to the end of a project, we start thinking about what's gonna be the next one, and we start like chatting about it. When we worked physically in the same place, that would be easier because you could like, you know, have a seat. You could gather the team up to grab something to eat, and then while we're eating and chatting, we're gonna like be like, okay, so what if this game and that idea that we had, do you think it's gonna be worth it? How do you like it now? You know, you start thinking about things like that. And our approach to actually deciding what game we're gonna work on is pretty much team focused. You know, like we definitely choose what the team's more excited about to do. Like we obviously we take in consideration a lot of stuff, market wise, our past games, what your like technologies or features that we are excited about. I don't know. Maybe we want to venture into couch fun games like we did with Outer Space. So those things are taken in consideration. But it comes down to pretty much liking the idea and seeing the excitement of the team, because Sal is very good with that. If he's watching, you own, because the idea of like having a team that's motivated in a project, that's absolutely important. So you can like have a healthy and a very positive posture of the team while you're developing the game. You know, it's very massacrating to work on something that you're not excited about, at least a little. And so to start off the project with this in mind, like choosing something that the team is totally aligned in and it's totally hyped for that idea, it's I think it's a very clever idea, and a very efficient way of doing it. Okay, so Adriano has a question here. Just a question. Did you have these live stream recorded here on Facebook or elsewhere? Yes, we do. We have them on Facebook. Our Facebook page has like the history of our live streams, but I think it's more organized on YouTube. So you can look for our YouTube. It's /Behold Studios, and you're gonna eventually find all the, like, we have a playlist for live streams, so you can watch them all in the past. It's a lot of content. Like our live streams usually take about an hour, maybe more, maybe less. So if you're going for our past live streams, yeah, it's a lot of content to watch. But I think it's worthy, and I think it's interesting nonetheless. That's why we record it and keep it stored there. Okay, he just replied it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but look for YouTube. Okay, it's easier to find. Anyway, going back to pre-production. So, right, we found the project that we wanted. Okay, that idea that we're really excited about. We discuss it a lot, and we compare the ideas that we like the most and all that kind of stuff. And we finally find that good, very good idea and very interesting idea for the team. And it's now time to start working on it. So what is the essence of pre-production, pretty much? At least the way I see it. Okay, this is pretty much like my opinion, and I mean, I work at Behold for a while, and the team is very connected and see things in uh, similar ways. Like we have a very aligned vision of like what it is making games and what you prioritize and stuff like that. But I do not represent everyone at Behold. Like just saying here, I'm just sharing my thoughts and a little bit of what we do. So you all can like take whatever you want from it and maybe apply it in your professional life, or just have it as a curiosity, or I don't know. So the main objective of pre-production is to define as many things as you can of the game beforehand. And what I mean by define is to find, like, to choose a way, to choose a path to follow. It does not mean you're gonna be like everything that's decided in pre-production is gonna eventually end up in the game. It doesn't mean you're not gonna change things. Things are always gonna be changed. That's kind of part of interactive medium, you know. I don't know. It's just like making games is very organic. It's almost impossible, I'd say, to define 100% of the project beforehand. And if you do that, and if you stick to that, like if you have a pre-planned everything in the game, and you just implement it, it's probably gonna be a bad game. Okay, it's probably gonna be a very bad game. And not because the initial ideas were bad or the people that were working on it were not competent. It's just that you like games, you feel games, you know, you experience games. It's very different from like idealizing it. And there's a lot of things that you only find out, like you only realize it's not a great idea, or maybe it's a fantastic idea and you thought it was bad when you try it out, you know, when you see it in place and with the conjecture of everything. So yeah, so I'd say pre-production is the phase that you wanna like choose the most clear and defined path you can to follow during production. It's a very good way to guide and align everyone in the team towards the same goal, but it's not like set in stone. It's not something that you will define and never change it. Okay. Questions. Okay, you guys only work on ideas, or do you accept other people's projects too? We get asked a lot of that. So we only work on our ideas, and I'd say like most of the companies do that as well. And why is that? Ideas for games, they come in a very high frequency. When you're working on games or when you play games, it's very natural to like have connections that were not a thing before. That's how our brain works, and especially if you're into creativity area, you know, the creative area, you're gonna be having ideas a lot, like all the time. And we know that not every idea is good. Like totally, I don't know, 99% of the ideas that we have during the days are not necessarily good. But we have a lot of them, especially with the team. With our size, you know, it's a small team, like 10 to 15 people. But still, like if everyone has an idea at least once a week, we have like hundreds, maybe thousands of ideas like laying around the team all the time. It's just it's a lot, and obviously we don't have the time to implement them all. We only work on a game for it's only one game for like 2 to 3 years, depending on the project. So yeah, in 2 years you can have a lot of ideas. and they keep stacking upon each other. Pretty much we have a file. It's a list that by now it must have more than 100 game ideas that only came from within the team, and there are ideas that are somewhat worth discussing. Worth discussing, and yeah, so there's not really much space to outsiders' ideas, because there's not really a need for that. Does that make sense? It's like ideas are cool, but normally when we choose something to work on, it's something that excited everyone about it, and we have like plenty of ideas that can make the team get the team to that point of excitement. And we normally, like, since we have the experience of working within our own team, we normally size the scopes of the ideas around the things that we can do. Normally ideas from the outside, like people that do not work with games or do not work with us necessarily, they tend to be way out of scope, like something extremely elaborate or AAA games or stuff like that, and that's not what we do. That's not why we do games. So that's why we don't accept other ideas, and that's why I think most of these studios do not accept other people's ideas as well, because they probably have plenty of their own, and they can like choose better ideas. Yeah, and I think like now this is just me talking, but I think we kind of overvalue ideas a bit, because what makes a good game, like a great idea can make a great game. That's a thing, okay? That's a reality. But not every great game came from a great idea, Like making a great game is way more than just having a good idea. It's like knowing how to apply that idea in a way that's pleasant, in a way that's polished, in a way that's compelling and entertaining and whatever. And when you but it's kind of we as a society as a whole, we kind of like overvalue ideas, thinking that, oh my god, this idea for this game is genius, and sometimes it is, like it is a very good idea, but we only notice that it's a good idea because the game was made well, and producing the game is like 100% of the work. Like the effort that we put into like actually producing the game is way bigger than the effort that we all do. We all put into like having ideas, So yeah, that's pretty much it. We don't get ideas from the outside because because of those reasons. I hope I answered the question. Maybe too long for that. Made too long of an answer. Okay, is that a Chroma Squad t-shirt? It is, yes. Let me show you. It's a Chroma Squad t-shirt. We were selling them at PAX East or West. I think East. PAX East this year, before the end of the world. Like before every event got cancelled, we went to PAX and I got this awesome t-shirt for me, and a lot of people got it as well. It's amazing. Anyway, okay, so once you start working on the game, you stop developing the older ones. Yes and no. Like, we never stop working on older games, like 100%. And that's because, we have maintenance, per se. And like sometimes we have a team dedicated to an older project. Sometimes we define like this month is gonna be dedicated to this game. Okay, so we work on that, and we do we bug fix, we create some content, whatever, for that older game, and then we release it and come back to the current project. it really depends on the demands of the moment. But we never really stop 100% working on any game, and that's why it's so hard to maintain like a small team when you're talking about a company like ours that has released like, I don't know, 4 major titles, that all of them require some kind of attention, and all of them have a community that expects things from us. And especially when you're not a company that is comfortable with like making sequels, like we're not 100% focused on making sequels. You know, if we were only like Knights of Pen and Paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if we were doing that, it would be easier to be like to keep on working on past titles, or at least to communicate that you're not working on them anymore, because you're literally attending the same audience. You know, it's the same people that played the first one would like to play the second one. So when you're working on a new game and you just say it, okay, it's gonna be the sequel for this one, the entire player base is gonna be totally okay with you working on that new project and maybe leaving the first one aside. But that's not our case here. Like we like to try new stuff, to have crazy ideas and implement them and try them out, and to challenge ourselves as a team. So yeah, it's a big effort that the team has to put like into maintaining the games. But normally, how it goes is when you start working on a new project, you have like a somewhat good attention to the past, like to the recent game that was released. So maybe working on DLC, maybe working on like some updates and fixes, like and taking care of the feedbacks that are getting from the game. And the games that came before this one, before the recently released, we tend to like wait from time to time, so we can like, okay, this week's we're gonna work with this project, and then we go and fix some things and work on some issues, and go around talking to publishers and stuff like that. So I hope I answered the question. Yeah, like saying ideas are cheap. They are indeed not cheap. Like not everything needs to be about money, but the concept here is that like we have a lot of ideas, you know, and pretty much everyone can have ideas, which is awesome. But it's very important that we get ideas that can be made, and we have like people that know how to create things that are real with that idea, you know, to actually create a game out of that idea. And that's why, yeah, I totally agree. We kind of overestimate ideas in this sense. But if you like, if the question was like, okay, you have a good idea, you think you'll like it, I suggest you to try it out. Like, try to create a demo for it. Try to gather up some people to make that demo for you, because I think it's easier to get your idea and showcase it, and maybe have people like buying that idea and thinking, okay, I want to help you make this, than to convince another company to work on your idea. You know, especially if you don't know them, if you've never worked with them before. So that's my suggestion. You're talking about gameplay in a way when you say like a great game may not come from a great idea. Yeah, I'm talking about like the way you implement that idea. You know, for example, I'm gonna use a very silly example, but Super Mario, it's not a great idea. You know, if you think about the concept of a plumber jumping onto monsters and you know, platforming, that does not sound as a great idea. But the way they implemented it and the way they've been implementing it is ingenious. Like they really know how to do it. So it's not only about like gameplay itself, like mechanics and stuff like that, but really knowing the techniques that you need to use to create a good game. For example, you can get if it was only a concept, you wouldn't have so many games in the same genre. For example, you would not have like so many. What is that genre that 100 players, only one lives? I totally forgot the term. Like PUBG, Warzone, whatever. Oh god, I forgot. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. If it was only about like the idea itself, all of them might have come from the same idea. Maybe a little variant on it, but during the development they chose many different things, and now they feel very differently, and some people prefer this one, some people prefer this other, but they are different games even though they might have come from the same idea, the same core concept of battle royale. Thank you, Buddhaman Boy, for reminding me of that term. Anyway, okay, yeah, thank Adriana as well. Alright, so pre-production, we've decided the game. What do we do? Once again, the objective of pre-production is to define a path and a clear vision in which we're going to follow during the production. And this is important not only to like motivate us, because the clearer the vision of the game is, the more excited you can get about it. Like saying that we're gonna like, oh, let's do the racing game. That's not necessarily exciting, okay, to the team or anyway. It doesn't say anything. Just selling, oh, it's a racing game, okay. Because a racing game can happen with cars, with ships, with people literally racing it, like speedrunners, for example. I don't know. You can diverge from that into multiple possible games, but when you start to find, okay, let's make a racing game. The thematics is gonna be about, I don't know, Fast and Furious, and we're gonna have like tuning and very Need for Speedy, and I don't know. You can start matching things, but you're gonna like be able to customize in a different way that's not only visual. And I don't know, you start like getting a grip of what the game is gonna be, and that also helps you to like evaluate that idea better. Like, okay, we're making a racing game, but why is it different? Like, why we're making it? Why? What differs it from Need for Speed, for example? Okay, what is it different between that and what is already on the market? And you can say, oh, okay, we're not exactly doing a racing game, but let's do a game with cars that play football, soccer, okay, that play soccer. That's it. That's a game. And then you get some crazy ideas like Rocket League, you know. But they definitely went deeper into that during the pre-production, and so I'd say pre-production is very important in that sense of like defining clear vision and evaluating it. And pre-production happens like it can happen in a more broad way. For example, if you're talking about the team, you can literally have meetings with the entire team just chatting about the idea, you know? Just, okay, what if that happened? But how are we going to show this? Is this important? I don't know. What if we tried moving this to another genre? Or whatever, you know? It's like you can have multiple meetings just to play with the idea of what can be done with that initial concept. And that's extremely important because normally that's the moment, like that's one of the core moments in which you really know if that game is going to be special or not. I've lost count of the times that we were like talking about ideas, and immediately someone came up with like, oh man, but this, what if the players like doing this? This idea wouldn't work, and they were like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, let's move to another. You know that happens. You can always like try to enforce, uh, and mold something to work, but it's very good. It's a very good advantage if you're starting with the idea that has a good potential for working, and you're not like trying to make it work out of a bad idea or an idea that does not fit the moment or does not, I don't know, motivate the team. Buddhaman Boy is asking, okay, but the idea became a great thing and walked side by side with gameplay in Super Mario. Yeah. But do you think that a game with great gameplay and a poor history is a memorable thing? It can be. Yes, I definitely think it can be. Like there are many games that don't even have a history. They don't even have like a narrative by itself. There are many games that are literally a concept, you know. Once again, like Mario, in my opinion, is a great example. Like the narrative wise, Mario is not. I've not played Mario for a very long time. I don't know if it changed in that sense. But what I've experienced of Mario, it was definitely not a narrative experience, narrative focused experience. It was a mechanical one, and in that way, it worked very well. Like if you think about like the idea of Mario being like a platform of jumping back then, you know, like with the all the jumping mechanics and all the complexity, it's a very good idea that made absolutely total sense back then, and they nailed the execution, you know. But it's very very common to see games that are 100% focused on like the execution itself. It's specifically mechanical. The same ways there is, for example, there are games that are focused on narrative, and they have pretty much like little to none gameplay or mechanics in it, but they still work great because the concept of like the story and how to deliver it, like composition and the framing and the pacing and all that kind of stuff, like it all fits and it all makes sense within that project, and it's delivered greatly, and it's an awesome game because of that, you know. Guitar Hero has zero story, yeah, definitely. Like it has a story mode. You could say that there's like the journey of the guitarist, but it's totally focused on gameplay. But it's a very good idea. Like it's a very good car. Rhythm game with guitars, you know, it's something that I don't know if it had ever been done, but it had never been done in that way, you know. Okay. Oh. Reich saying that there is a talk by Ian Bagost, I don't know how to pronounce his name, about fun in games, in which he reflects on how it is achieved and why sometimes it isn't. Yeah, fun is a very important aspect of the game. Fun is a kind of a broad term. Like the way we use fun, I personally believe that not every game needs to be fun to be good. Like you can have games that are like meant to make you feel bad, you know, like horror movies. Okay, horror movies they're not fun in a way that, you know, you can like extremely thrilled, at least for many people. But there are very good horror movies or I don't know. Detective movies and stuff like that that get you totally on your feet, and you get out of the movie like feeling scared, and you're not being able to like sleep for a week, and you can say that that's a very good movie because of that. But anyway, I'm deviating from the from the main subject here. But anyway, go look for that Ian the Ghost talk. It might be very good. I never watched it, but I know the guy by name. And there are like multiple books about that as well. But anyway, uh, okay. So normally we have this moment of like working on the concept of the game, the broader concept of the game, with the entire team, and but also we got like multiple tasks and processes that we go through on pre-production that are very good to help like shaping the game itself. Uh, One of them is like the obvious, and I think that's like one of the most important things that we have, one of the most important tools that we have in game development, which is reference seeking. Okay, so when we get into pre-production, we, at least at Behold, we like to study what we're doing, and not only in a way that not only studying the techniques of making games, but also about themes. You've played our games possibly. Knights of Pen and Paper, Galaxy of Pen and Paper, Chroma Squad, and Outer Space. They all had a very strong attachment to the theme. May it be like being a Super Sentai, studio manager, or having your own RPG, tabletop RPG experience, or sharing a house with your friends. These are all games that are like extremely focused on the themes, and if we want to like make great games about a certain theme, we gotta understand that theme, and we gotta have like some kind of confidence. We gotta have confidence in what we're doing with that theme. So we kind of start, all of us, diving deep into themes. Like I'll take Outer Space for example. Like, okay, we want to make a game about like moving to a space house with friends. Okay, that's the catch. That's the unique selling point of the game. That's what is gonna set it apart from the rest. All right, so what it is? What does it mean to move into a house? Like, what are the feelings that you feel when you move into a house? How does it feel to like share a house with someone? How do people feel about it? What other games have like tried to sell that experience of being in a house, of like calling it your own, and all that kind of stuff. Like, start diving deep into like emotional references. For example, like people that like that thing for some reason, people that like building houses, people that like Super Sentai. Diving deep into their opinions, talking to them. We normally research a lot of the theme itself. For example, Chroma Squad. It was a lot of work in terms of like watching Super Sentai movies and series, and reading about them and getting reviews, and like trying to understand what worked, what didn't work, getting the references, even the silly ones. Like, okay, this episode has something very, very odd in it, and it kind of became a meme among the community. Okay, let's use this. It's a very, very intense process of really digging into the themes. May it be like watching, reading, playing, or talking about it, with others. I think that's the core of the pre-production phase, because once we truly and as a team understand what we're dealing with, it's way easier to prioritize what we're going to do next. Like, if you're making a game, for example, about moving to a house with your friends, if you have that that vision of the theme, you're gonna eventually notice that like having guns in your game does not make sense. You know, having grenades in your game does not make sense because when you're moving to a new house, uh, the last thing you're gonna do is like literally throw a grenade into your room because it is full of cockroaches or whatever. Uh, and even though that you know that is kind of silly and funny to think about, but there's like a line between like dividing what is kind of jokey and extreme and maybe it brings humor through contrast. You know, for example, like okay, you know how it is to move to a house, but you've never done it on space. So you can put some silly things there like aliens and goo, you know, and getting cocooned and stuff like that. That doesn't happen in real life, but it's those are twists there that sometimes they somewhat fit into the experience that we wanted. While having grenades, for example, did not like it did not fit like it was not a battlefield, you know, between aliens and humans. It was not that the idea of the game. And since we've had this very clear idea of the thematics of the game, it was way easier to understand that wasn't working. That wasn't like really going for the game, and to remove it completely. Like just as an explanation, we did have that on Outer Space. Like the first build of Outer Space had guns and literal grenades. Okay, and if you've played Outer Space, you might think how absurdly out of the theme it is, and out of the game itself it is. It was. So that's why we kind of got rid of that. And that leads me to the other very important part of pre-production, which is experimentation. You know, there's a very good say in making games. You know, in game development, that is fail faster. So that comes to the idea of like you have an idea, test it. You know, just put it in, try it. Try to implement it as quick as possible, like very low budget, but just try to see if it works, because sometimes it doesn't. You know, sometimes it does work and it's good to have validation on that, but sometimes it just won't. It won't work. It won't fit, and you gotta throw it up like all the way. And it's best for you to like do it when you wasted small time in it than when you literally put like month of work in it, in that thing in particular, you know. So yeah, pre-production for us at least is also about like prototyping and getting this like this confirmation of what is good for the game and what are the ideas that we want to put into it. And it's kind of a two-way thing, like a double-way thing. We're making the demo, we're making the prototype, like we're putting our ideas into the prototype, but it kind of sometimes feels like the prototype is talking back to us. You know, it's like saying, okay, yeah, I feel like it needs this. You know, I feel like this is lacking, or I feel like I wasn't sure about this feature, but I definitely see it fitting in the world right now. So it's very important for us to like actually go through this. And obviously, the prototype is an excellent way of testing the general direction, the general design of the game. Let me just read a question. What defines how big a project should be? The idea, or you have a budget and then work on an idea that works on that budget? It would depend on the team, I'd say. Like for us, we're used to the cycle of working on the same project for 2 to 3 years. and we're comfortable with that. That's how we like to do things. So we normally think about like games that fit into that. Like if we have a very giant and superly complex idea that cannot be done in 2 to 3 years or maybe less, I don't know. We normally leave that for the future, or maybe just completely discard that idea because we know it doesn't work for us. We like that time frame, that scope that we are used to. We know that the team can deliver on that. We know that it's like long enough to make something cool, but not long enough to be like uh, completely tired of the game after that point. Because that's one thing that people that do not work with the games, they don't think that happens. Like you eventually get tired of your project. That's part of who we are as humanity. We get tired of things. Uh, if things do not like reinvent themselves, you eventually get tired of them, and like working on the same concept and the same project for years can become very, very, very intense emotionally speaking. Like you can become like totally tired of that. Like you can no longer I don't know, you're totally avoiding that project by the end of it. That happens, and the longer the project, the higher the chances this will happen with the entire team. So thinking that philosophy of like, okay, we got to work on things that we are excited about and that we like to work on. It goes against the idea of working on the same project for like 5 years. So even if we had, or if we could manage to find a budget for that project for 5 years of development, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure actually that we're gonna like totally skip it and go for a short idea, just because it's what we like to do. It's the way we like to work. So I'd say it depends on the team. I really suggest that if you're like going for the first project, or for the first, I don't know, if you've done like 3 games, 4 games before, and you're going for something big this time, do not go too big, because first sometimes no, we always overestimate our capacities. So if you're thinking about a game that you will take like 2 years, 3 years to make, you will probably make it in like 4, maybe 5. Like that's people say that experienced teams, they overestimate the time and the scope in like 30%. So if you're not very experienced, you're gonna overestimate it way more. You're gonna be thinking like, oh, okay, 2 years I can finish this. This is gonna be fast. And when you see it, you're like 5 years in, and the project is not done, and you're like completely tired of it, and it didn't work as well as you wanted, and I don't know. It's just not a great experience to have like very long projects if it's not something that you are like totally confident about, and that you have experience to cover it, and that you have the budget to cover it. So I'd say go small always, and gradually get bigger scopes with time, like with maturity. But yeah, they're normally not defined, and sometimes you gotta choose a game that fits your budget. That's a reality. For example, some of our past games were financed by ourselves, like the for the by the money made by with like past titles. So if you have like this amount of money, you do not want to risk making a game that's gonna cost way like much more than that, because you do not have certainty that you're gonna be able to get that money. But we also, there are multiple ways of finding financial support for games, especially if you're an experienced developer with an experienced team. So we normally define it by the time of working and the general scope that we used to, and then we like see how much that's gonna cost, and then we try to look for investment and stuff like that. But yeah, we talked about like the broad conversations and open design talks that we do within the team. I've talked about the reference and the dive that we taking on the themes. But there's also like there's also definition to be done. You know, it's very good to like see what you want to achieve, to understand the themes and know how much work it's gonna give it you, and to be capable of delivering on that theme. But it's also as important to like really define and try to visualize in a more detailed way what the game's gonna be, and that's where, you know, starting a game design document and defining the directions of the game comes. So on pre-production is normally when we define like, okay, these are our pillars for the project. These are the things that we definitely want, that we need, that the game cannot exist without them. So these are the pillars. Based on those pillars, what we're gonna do with the rest of it, like what we're gonna have to support this pillar, like Outer Space had, for example, the house thing, you know, to moving to a house thing. It had the cooperation pillar because we wanted it to be a cooperative game, and we didn't want it to be like a game that can be played by multiple people, but it's not really cooperative. You know, we want it to be like a game that people would feel like they're sharing that experience together, not only like sharing the controllers. So we've set a few of the pillars. We normally do that, and then we work on that. Like we work from that to defining how is the combat gonna be, if it's gonna have combat whatsoever, what's gonna be the main mechanic. Does the mechanic, you know, make sense with the pillars? For example, like does it make sense to have shooting in the game about moving to a house? You know, it's conflicting with the pillars. So yeah, just scrap that out. Let's just build the house instead. You know, but what's gonna be the conflict anyway? Like that's the point when you start like writing down what's your vision of the game. That's the point you gotta like start asking the difficult questions, which are like, okay, cool, this looks challenging. Me, how do we manage to do this? Can we do this? What is the scope for this feature that we are absolutely sure we can deliver? You know, and even, you know, cut corners. You can like look at something and say, dude, this is an insanely awesome feature. This would make so much sense in the game, but is it worthy? Like to do this alone would take us a lot of time, and it's something that we're not used to working on, so we'd have to research a lot and to capacitate ourselves into doing this. And that much time for this feature, is it worth it? Like what can we, is there other things that are less important in the game that we can like give up on so we can have time to focus on this? Or is it something that it's just better off, you know, getting rid of right away? This is a time where all those definitions come, and they normally come in a more of a, like, we talk internally within the teams. So we have the design team, we have the art team, we have the development and coding team, and we're obviously like always talking to each other. But for example, it's majorly like the artist's jobs to define the direction of art of the game. So how's the art going to be? Are we going like 2D, 3D, pixel art, low poly, whatever? Like what's going to be the static of it? What are the references that we have for the visuals? what's the color palette that we want to have in the game. All of that should be, at least ideally, defined during the pre-production phase. And once again, this might change, okay? Like everything that you decide during pre-production can change during the project, as long as it's for the best, you know. Like okay, I thought this would work, it doesn't. Let's just change the color palette, just change it. Or you know, sometimes it's harder to change some things. For example, okay, we were making the game in 3D, but it didn't work. Let's do it in 2D. That's a hard thing to change, because a lot of effort came into like creating the assets and putting the project together, and creating the structure for a 3D game. Just scrap it up and change it to 2D. It happens, but it's not ideal that when that happens. You know, it's a lot of cost for the team to do this kind of changes. Yeah, and not only like the artistic direction of it, but defining the tools that we're gonna use. You know, like for us, it's pretty obvious. Like we use Unity. We've always used Unity since the beginning, so we're kind of used to that. So it kind of comes without saying that we're gonna use Unity in, I don't know, whatever project we do. But sometimes it's good, you know, to just dig a little deeper and see like, okay, but Unity is it still the best choice? You know, let's look for I don't know, for other engines. Let's take a little research on that and see what are the pros and cons, and the cost of them, and like what are the features that they have that can be used in our project. And sometimes we've seen ourselves thinking about, okay, maybe it's time to change, maybe, I don't know, let's see, because it's gonna be a lot of work to learn a new engine, for example, like as a team, being used to work on it on Unity. But sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's worth it. Like you just save so much time using a feature that another engine has, and that's gonna be very important for your game, that sometimes it's just worth it doing it. And also, obviously, defining the details of the game. So right, so how do we fit the combat with the team, with the theme? So this theme, living in a house, I don't know, we're gonna fight aliens with what? Mops and sprays and, I don't know, buckets. You know, that's the thing. That's like looking for ways to fit that crazy game idea and the things that you expect from a game with the themes that you decided to go for. You know, if you're working from a theme. All of that I've shared is mostly how we work, and we're a team that is very focused on thematic games. You know, games focused on themes. But you can very much start any project with like, okay, I'd like to make a game in which you are like Spider-Man. You know, you're web swinging, but with the hook, because I don't want to be sued with the by Marvel. So I want to make kind of a Spider game, but with hooks, because I fear being sued. So you can start from that. You know, you can see, okay, this is the concept. Okay, that's what we want to do. Let's work on that. Let's create the pillars over the mechanical part of the game. Like, okay, like the swinging must be magnificent. It must make you feel like Spider-Man, like a lot of journalists have been saying. So yeah, that's a pillar. Work from that. See what other things that can be connected with this pillar. Okay, so we're gonna have combat. Let's have web swinging combos and stuff like that. You know, just it's just a really important step towards production. So once you start production and you've gone through all this time of pre-production and you have it all, or at least most of it, defined, first you're gonna know where to start, which is very important. Like having a clear vision of what you're gonna work can help you prioritize what is more important to start. And second of all, it's gonna save you a lot of rework. And rework, I'd say, like, reworking is top five biggest enemy of indie teams or game developers in general. Like we already have so much reworking during our development phase. Like it's very likely that a lot of things that you thought were nice will not come out as good as you thought, so you have to like scrap it up and do it again. But the chances of that happening when you have nothing planned, when you just start developing it, it's like 3 times as much as when you plan it before. And saving that amount of time during the development when you're working on a strict budget and with a small team helps a lot. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much why I think pre-production is important. We're currently on pre-production, and as you might think, like having so much to do in terms of like researching references, documenting all this kind of stuff, deciding things in the design wise, deciding the directions of art, the tools that we're gonna use, learning the tools, all of that takes a lot of time, and obviously we don't have that much time to work on the game itself. To be like improving the prototype. Maybe sometimes you've gotten to a decent prototype. Now it's time to like do something with it, and not work on it anymore. Maybe start from the scratch because the prototype has had one reason to exist. It was like, I don't know, to show publishers, or to, I don't know, just help the team to grasp the concept. Now it's all made out of crazy codes and things that will not work in the main game. So let's just start it all over again. Yeah, that's it. So it's just very important, and since we are in pre-production, we do not have much time to create stuff to show you. And obviously, many things that we are working on, like the game design document itself, it's something that we will not share it, at least not for now, because we're still working on it. It's gonna change a lot, and it's about something that still doesn't exist. So we do not have many things to show you during the live streams. So the idea is that we're having now these lives every 2 weeks. Sometimes we're going to be talking about the development of the game. Sometimes we're going to be talking about game development in general, for example, like this live stream here. And sometimes we're going to be like playing one of our older games, or Outer Space. We're going to be playing Outer Space. Sometimes it's going to be like a update release for Outer Space, who knows. And sometimes it's just going to be like us playing the demo of the project that we're working on. I don't know. It's hard to say right now, but I think it's going to be important to not have it weekly as we used to have. That way we can bring more significant and interesting content to you all. Alright, Daniel Brust is asking, what is it like to finish a project? Like the 10% that take 92% of the time? Yeah, it is. Yeah, first of all, this expression, like, the last is like, they say, I think I heard it with 20 and 80. They say that the last 20% of a project takes 80% of the time. That's absolutely true. Like, having to polish something to the point of release, and bug fixing and all the kind of stuff, it takes so much time. Oh my god, it's unbelievable. but at the same time, when you actually finish it, like once you've gone through all that time, all that effort into polishing and bug fixing, and it's not gonna be truly finished. You know, no creative project is totally finished. Uh, I can guarantee you that if you would ask any creator, he's gonna say, "I wish I had more time to work on this," or maybe like, "Okay, I'm glad it finished, but we had a lot of things that we wanted to put in it that we didn't," and that's because it's just impossible to make something perfect, and we do not have like unlimited money, unlimited team and time, so we always kind of wish we had more time for this, but it never gets there. But at the same time, it's kind of frustrating in this sense, you know, like it always has this layer of frustration in which like, oh man, I wish I had the time to do this, or oh, that feature, I was really passionate about it. I'm very sad it did not make it in time, or we did not have the time to polish it enough to release it. I don't know. Yeah, that's a frustration that happens. Uh, but at the same time, like seeing people play your game and telling you like, oh, I love this game. This is like my favorite game of X genre, or I don't know, just congratulating you on the launch and all the kind of stuff. It's an accomplishment that's very hard to describe. It's very hard to compare with anything else. And I think like filmmakers, musicians, artists in general, they get this feeling of like seeing the reception of something you've worked on for a long time, and seeing people like it is, it's just what makes it worth it. And that's why I always feel bad for people, you know, for games that are not like well received, because you know there always are some exceptions, but I'm pretty sure the team that worked on any project, especially big projects, it gave its soul, you know, to the project. Like they were really trying to make the best of it. Maybe they weren't so excited because they were working for too long, or they were working for too many hours on the project and they were like burned out. But I'm pretty sure like every developer is like putting its best. You know, they want the game to be good. No, nobody wants to make a game that fails. You know, and when we see like these cases of games that flop terribly, not only financially, because success is something relative. You know, you can think of games that are extremely successful in what they wanted to do, but they did not thrive financially, which is a shame as well. But at least that person had the feedback of like, oh, this game is amazing. Oh my god, it reflected. I don't know, it resonated with me in a certain way. So getting this feedback is very very good. And when you see like games frustrating expectations and you know, selling poorly and being rushed to release or stuff like that, it I don't know. I just feel very bad for the developers because they've definitely put a lot of work and a lot of love, possibly in the project, and getting like nothing good back, like not getting that warm reception of the player base must be tough. Must be very very tough. Um, or even games that don't reach anyone. You know, sometimes the game is very good. It's good in what it does, but it just doesn't have the visibility to reach people. And you know, it's also frustrating. I've been there. Yeah, you know, I've been that side of like releasing a game and having like, I don't know, 500 people playing it, and like, damn it, I wish more people played it. Not for the money, obviously, but also because you kind of spend all that time on making the game because you want to see people having fun with it, or experiencing it, and when nobody does, it's frustrating as hell. But yeah, normally it's very good. It's a very good sensation. A little bit frustration mixed in the middle of it. but normally you're very glad that it happened. You're very, hopefully you're very proud of what you've done and the work you've put into the project, and hopefully as well you're gonna be have it well received by the people that play it, and that pays enormously, like the effort that you've put into the game. Uh, I think we're done, guys. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for all the comments. It's always awesome to see people interacting during the chat. I hope I helped somehow. I don't know. At least if you're not a developer, I hope you at least know how it, a little bit more about game development, and that makes you value more the games you play, or understand more why they're not as great as you thought they should be. I don't know. If you are a game developer, I hope it helped somehow as well. You've probably had your experiences with pre-production before. Maybe you didn't value it as much as I believe you should, or maybe you did value it, but you got something from this. I just hope I helped. And yeah, thank you all for watching. We're gonna be here not next week, but on the next one, 2 weeks from now. I'm definitely gonna tell you about the next live stream on our Twitter, which is at Behold Studios. So you can follow us there to get to know when we're gonna have a live stream, and to see other cool stuff in our Twitter. Please, if you're not yet part of our Discord server, consider joining. It's a very lovable community. We share a lot of information about the games that we're working on. Normally, the things that we show on live stream, they are previously shown on the Discord server. So if you want to get to know the things that we're working on beforehand, you can join us there. We're very open to chat and talk about anything. The Discord is discord.gg/Behold Studios. I'm gonna send it in the chat. Discord.gg/Behold Studios. Yeah, and you can click on the link, join it. It's gonna be a pleasure to meet you there. And if you're, an old community member, as some of you are, and a regular member, and a regular watcher and participant in our live streams, thank you for coming back. It's very, very, very important. A side note, you can notice that my hair is weird. Nobody asked it. You people are very polite. I thank you for that. But yeah, the idea was that, my wife, you can see the back of her head here. It's greenish blue. Her hair looks awesome. Mine, you did look good, at least at the moment I finished painting it. But turns out purple is a color that washes away very fast. And by the time I was readying up for the stream, I painted it 2 weeks ago now. Now it looks this pale purplish, pink, reddish, bluish, I don't know, whatever this is. But yeah, things of quarantine. Sometimes you spend too much time in your home and you get bored and you want to try something new, and you end up with a hair like this. So yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, thank you for being polite and not pointing it out, by the way. So yeah, until next week, and thank you all for joining, and see you later. Bye bye.